the start for the one who's a true work of art. Together or far apart, make it from the heart. For an endless selection of gifts from the heart, Seaford's Jewelers, with watches from Omega, Tag Heuer, and over 30 other top brands. A huge selection of certified diamonds at the guaranteed lowest prices. Jewelry designs by Scott K, Simon G, and many others. Fine gifts and accessories by Lennox, Swarovski, Yadro, and more. For fine diamonds, jewelry, watches, and gifts at amazing savings, Seaford's Jewelers. Together apart, make it from the heart. For every occasion, Seaford's Jewelers, New Jersey's legendary jeweler. 449 New Brunswick Avenue in Fords.
While it may be disappointing that school, sports, and other activities are canceled, these cancellations help stop or slow the spread of coronavirus. Canceling events that draw crowds is an example of social distancing. Social distancing means increasing the physical space between people to avoid spreading illness. Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Working from home and visiting electronically instead of in person are also ways to stay safe. This message is sponsored by the New Jersey Education Association, the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station.
You're listening to WBWD 540 AM, Islip, New York, a part of Universal Stations, LLC. The views, opinions, and statements expressed in the following program reflect the views of program contributors and do not necessarily reflect the views of WBWD Radio, its management, or its sponsors. For questions and comments, please send us an email at contact@bali540am.com or visit us at bali540am.com.
Sports Talk New York with your hosts, Mark Rosenman and AJ Carter. Sports Talk New York is sponsored in part by Prince Associates for all your insurance needs, the Phoenix Tube Company, the law firm of Declator Cohen and DePrisco, Solomon Jewelers, and General Needs Charity, serving our homeless veterans with dignity. And now, here are your hosts, Mark and AJ.
And welcome to Sports Talk New York. Not Mark and AJ, just Mark. All the interns, AJ, they're taking social distancing to the extreme by staying home. I guess they're listening to our governor and staying home. But we feel that tonight's show is essential to you. So we, Rich and I, showed up here. So we're happy to have you here, either listening on the radio or watching us over Facebook Live. It's a pleasure to have you all watching us or listening to us. If you're new to the show, we start off the show every week with our Major League Baseball report. It's time now for the Capco Major League Baseball report. And with spring underway, it means that warm weather is right around the corner. It's a great time to keep those windows and doors open for sure. Let the fresh air in, keep the bugs and other things out with a Clearview retractable screen. The Clearview retractable screen system comes standard with a lifetime warranty and the patented speed reducer, so it will not snap back. You get the luxury of a screen door in a sleek, low-profile design without the hassle of a bulky storm door or sliding screen door. Call 631-440-1100 for free estimates. Purchase a unit and get it with free installation when you mention Sports Talk New York. That's 631-440-1100 or visit ClearviewLongIsland.com. How you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing good, and forget around the corner. That warm weather was yesterday, my friend.
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was beautiful outside, and that's another reason when you have weather like that, you miss a great game of baseball even more. However, a little bit of the underbelly, players getting out there, whether it be on Twitter, Doolittle of the Senators and Corbin echoing his sentiments, and then on Twitch. This is a direct quote from Tampa Bay Snell's the pitcher. You all got to understand, man, for me to take a pay cut, it's not happening because the risk is through the roof. It's a shorter season, less pay. I got to get my money. I'm not playing unless I get mine, okay? And that's just the way it is for me. So, he's a guy that, albeit on Twitch, I guess he might not have realized that it was going to get way out there, but obviously it did. I'm sure he's not the only player that feels that way. So there are so many obstacles to getting baseball back. These are just some of it. How can the Players Association, and the owners come to some middle ground? Granted, they said they're going to test 2 times a week. will there be players that just decide, yeah, it's not worth the risk for me?
I think there will be some players that the question is, what percentage of players are going to decide that it's not worth it? I mean, we were hearing months ago that, you look at a guy like Zach Wheeler, who had already said, look, if I got to go play during the season and quarantine myself from my family, I'm going to tell you right now, I will not be away from my wife when she gives birth. So you look at a player like that, and I'm sure there are other players in the same boat. I think Mike Trout's wife might be expecting also, who have basically said, we're gonna go and watch and be with our wives when they give birth, and then if we have to do the 2-week quarantine after that, so be it. I think that's going to decide whether we see a baseball season or not. What percentage of the players are going to be willing to not only go through some risk for a shortened baseball season, but also to be away from their families for 4 or 5 months. It's going to be hard. And also when you look at some of the things that they've been talking about in the document about player safety, that's great if you can get every single player to abide by these rules. And we're talking 850 to 900 players. If one guy goes out to a nightclub after one of the games, then it could be disastrous. So I think it's all very, very tentative and very fragile right now.
One of the things I was thinking about when I was driving over here, because listening to sports radio on the dial these days are basically just replays of older games. And one of the things you notice right away are crowd noises. And we've talked about this a lot. The point is that the crowds add so much to a broadcast. I know you've been watching the Korean Baseball League. I haven't. So tell me what watching those games without a crowd has been like.
It's weird, but I think it depends on the game you're watching, the team that's hosting. A couple of the teams have been piping in a little bit of noise, just maybe not the noise of a regular KBO crowd, but a little murmur so that there's some sort of ambiance that you can hear behind it, and you get used to it. It's almost a KBO game, which is usually raucous and loud, and from the first pitch to the last out, it kind of sounds more like the first few innings of a Mets-Marlins doubleheader at 5 o'clock when nobody shows up. You get used to it, but it's not the same, and you make do with it. But on the flip side of that, fans do create an atmosphere. It's part of the fun of going to a ballpark, to be part of that atmosphere. To watch at home, if they start the season and have it sound like a glorified high school game, it's going to be weird, and it's going to be something that's going to take a lot of getting used to.
So that being said, that's what I was thinking about on the way over here. A lot of times when NFL teams practice for going on the road, they pipe in the crowd noise, loud as can be, in an empty arena. I was thinking each team would somehow make some sort of, yes, when the Mets are playing, if you're watching on TV, granted, if you don't have any crowd shots and you hear the murmur and the Let's Go Mets chants, it enhances not only the broadcast, but I'm sure maybe for the players hearing that, and we're going to have Stephen Fogarty of the Rangers. I'm going to ask him that question because it's probably easier to do in a hockey arena than it is in an outdoor arena. But what would you think of that, adding to the ambiance of watching a game if you had piped in crowd noises depending on who's playing, that home field advantage?
It's funny because my wife and I have talked about what if teams were to put in a few thousand iPads, and you have some fans buy a virtual ticket to be on a Zoom call for 3 hours and cheer from your living room and have it heard in the stadium. It might be a little expensive, and I don't know if teams are going to spend all that money to do something like that. But yeah, I think there are ways you can do it. I think now, everybody, if these were normal times, you wouldn't think about piping in crowd noise. It would be weak. But in these times, I think there are some interesting ways that teams could get around it, and I think for this season, I think people would get used to it.
Listen, they're going to have to find innovative ways to capture the audience. And one of them they were already doing with the microphones. Now, if you had those microphones in a deadly silent, stadium, you're going to hear every single thing that goes on at first base between the runner and the first baseman. And if you mic other players, you're going to hear that. It might bring you more inside the game than we've ever been. But these are things that I'm sure that TV networks and producers are thinking of, because it's going to be strange watching a Major League Baseball game with no crowd noise.
Yeah, that's what Trevor Bauer said during one of the KBO games right before the interview ended. He said, "Mic the players, and you don't even have to show it live. You could edit it and show it later on your social streams, and it'll bring fans more inside the game than ever." Major League Baseball is going to have to be innovative. I mean, this is almost a fulcrum point for them. A lot of talk about them being kind of losing its place in the hierarchy of sports, losing their place in the sports culture. They're going to have to. They can use this as an opportunity now to experiment with different things like that.
And lastly, before we let you go, this is a question we're going to ask Rich Lisk later on, the executive vice president of GF Sports. As fans, what can we expect the spectator experience to be like post-pandemic?
I think it depends on how far you're looking into the future. I think it's going to be really hard even to have a limited amount of fans. Let's say you're talking 10,000, okay? 10,000 fans, which means the lines to the food are going to be clear, the walkways are going to be clear, but you still only have a certain amount of entrances and exits to go in. So how do you negotiate that? I know the Miami Dolphins had talked about scheduling. You go in at this time, you go in at that time. It's almost like sports by appointment. I think it's going to be really weird. I think it's going to be as weird as everything else now is in society, where you have lines and X's marking 6 feet away. I think it's going to be really strange, at least the first time we go back. If there's the beginning, you're talking about the beginning of the 2021 baseball season or the beginning of the 2021 hockey and basketball seasons, that's when you're talking, that's going to be the weirdest time, because it's going to be limited and it's going to be very restricted. And some fans might try that to go to a live event and decide, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm going to wait for a vaccine. I'm going to wait until there's 50,000 people in the ballpark again.
All right, Johnny. John Coppinger heard here each and every week over 540 AM Sports Talk New York, as well as on the Facebook Live edition. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, New York Ranger Stephen Fogarty joins us, so keep it tuned right here.
Decolator Cohen & DePrisco, LLP, is pleased to introduce their website, policeofficersrighttosue.com, as an educational and informative site designed to instruct members of the law enforcement community of their civil rights in line-of-duty accidents. Many law enforcement members are not aware of their rights to sue and fail to bring lawsuits within a specific time frame, thereby forfeiting their ability to seek rightful compensation against those parties that cause officers to be injured. PoliceofficersRightToSue.com provides successful past results of line-of-duty lawsuits. These examples range from officers being provided with inadequate equipment, RMP accidents, slip and falls, and station house mishaps. If any law enforcement member has a question regarding a potential lawsuit, they can contact DCD at policeofficersrighttosue.com or at 1-800-901-1LAW. That's policeofficersrighttosue.com or 1-800-901-1LAW.
And welcome back to 540 AM Sports Talk New York, airing over 540 AM in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, as well as simulcasting on the Facebook Live stream. Joining us now is a man who actually appeared on Sports Talk New York in June of 2011, right after he was drafted by the Rangers in the third round of the 2011 NHL entry draft. He made his national hockey debut for the Rangers in the final game of the 2017-18 season, going scoreless with 2 penalty minutes during that game, but before being returned to Hartford to finish the season. He played in 7 games this season and was with the team when the NHL season was put on pause. 9 years ago, I ended our interview with him saying I couldn't wait to be in the locker room during a post-game interview with him after his first NHL goal. I have to start out this interview by saying, as much as I meant it that day, never have I meant it ever more than right now, that I can't wait for that moment for so many reasons. But it is a pleasure to welcome Stephen Fogarty back to Sports Talk New York. Welcome, Steve. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. It's certainly been a while, but I'm excited.
Yeah, it certainly has. So first off, how are you holding up during all of this?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Just like everyone else, just kind of taking it day by day. Starting to get into a little bit of routine here as far as, working out and just controlling what I can. But yeah, I've been back in Minnesota now for, I guess, over 2 months now. But no, just staying in shape and spending time with family.
So that's a good starting point because you're back in Minnesota. So let's, before we get to the current situation, let's talk a little bit about your career and your road to the NHL. Let's turn the clock back 9 years ago and talk about draft day, as yours is a little different as it's held right in your hometown and an arena where you played a few games prior to that. What are your recollections now looking back on draft day all these years later?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a day that I'll always remember. And, I think back to that day quite a bit. Like you said, I was very fortunate to be able to have it here at a rink that I grew up going to Wild games and, played in state tournaments and whatnot in that building. And then to be able to, go there and experience the draft and, also get drafted and, especially by a team like New York just made it that much more special. So, my parents and I, look back that day a lot, still talk about it. And it's, certainly one of those days looking back at your career that is one of the most memorable for sure.
So I actually went back and listened to our interview from 2011. And, if I remember correctly, your plans at that point were to play for the Chicago Steel of the USHL and then on to Notre Dame. But after the draft, it seemed those plans changed a little bit and you played in the BCHL, which was not part of that plan. How did you end up playing there?
Yeah, it's actually funny. I remember, a week or so before the draft, I had a couple buddies were the same age as me and, we're going to the draft as well, and I had saw that they committed to go play up in Penticton, and I remember telling my parents, I was like, why would they be going so far and go up there and play in this league that I've never heard of? And then 2 weeks later, I'm on a plane going to visit. So, but yeah, like you said, I was drafted by the Chicago Steel and had played a few games for them before the draft, and then actually at the draft, I was introduced to the head coach up in Penticton, Fred Harbinson, and initially it came away, with some positive feels from him. And then, after the draft, we kind of touched base and they invited me up for a visit. And, if anyone who's ever been up there to the Okanagan, it's, a beautiful spot. And just, their facilities and everything seemed really good and a really good situation. And, like I said, I had a couple of other Minnesota guys who went up there too, which made it an easier decision. But, that's a decision that I look back on now and, I'm glad I did it. And we had a really special team that year, and it's, I have a lot of memories from that year, and we actually were going to have a reunion there this summer, but it got canceled because of all this. But, I can't wait to get back up there.
When you talk about a special team, people might not know this. You guys only lost 4 games in regulation. You went 54-4-0-2, then lost only 3 games in the playoffs en route to the BCHL championship, which set up a match against the AJHL winner for the Doyle Cup. Again, you guys win, which earns you the V's moving on to the 2012 Royal Bank Cup. You'd win the national championship with a 4-3 win over the MHL champion Woodstock Slammers in the final. Aside from the decision, what was your main takeaway? What did you learn the most out of that experience?
Yeah, well, I think moving away from home is just the start. I was, a lot of guys move away from home, I guess, to play hockey. But for me, I was living in my parents' house till I was 18 and never really got away. And then to be able to be that far away from home was definitely a bit of a culture shock. It gave me an opportunity to kind of grow and just mature as a person. Then as far as hockey, it's obviously, junior A, so you're playing against a lot older and, bigger guys. And, coming from Minnesota high school is certainly a jump. But, with our team being, as good as it was, it kind of gave us an ability to just kind of fine-tune our game too, individually as far as little things that we needed to work on. And, it obviously gave us tremendous amount of confidence with the way it went. And, like I said, anytime you get an opportunity to play deep in the playoffs at any level, it gives you that level of experience as well. So, there's definitely a lot of takeaways, and it was it was a very special year.
So what's so cool about the age that we live in? There's just so much information available to us. You can look back and find things like a scouting report on you in high school. And this is from Minnesota Hockey Prospects website. It says, plays a physical brand of hockey, grinding it out on the boards, getting dirty in front of the net. Lou Nanny, whose grandson, Vinny Lettieri, actually was a teammate of yours on your high school team as well as on the Wolfpack, said that you had the best hands of any high schooler he's ever seen. And that's pretty high praise coming from someone who's one of the greatest hockey minds still to this day in hockey. That being said, looking back on that scouting report, what do you think still holds true about you, and what in your game do you think has evolved that you might add to that scouting report?
Yeah, I think my game has definitely evolved and changed quite a bit. As far as my draft year and playing high school hockey here, you can kind of get away with just playing offense and scoring goals and whatnot. I think when I went up to Penticton, my role kind of changed. We had a lot of gifted players, a lot of scorers. I think my role kind of transitioned into a defensive type role, but obviously also contributing offensively. And then taking that next step into college, into Notre Dame. I think I even took an even bigger role as far as defensive game and, really fine-tune that. But at the same time, I think I kind of got away from my offensive game that, I think got me to that level and got me drafted and whatnot. And, certainly wanted to find that balance. And I think now that I've, been pro now for 4 years, I've started to kind of find that balance of, being able to be a reliable two-way guy and, contribute offensively at the same time.
One of those common threads from high school, college to pros is you've been a captain at each level. What do you think it is about you that coaches see in you that earns you that C?
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts with my, just the kind of the way I was raised and brought up. My parents, my dad being in the military and my mom coming from a military family kind of just, ingrained that discipline in my brother and I, childhood and our, growing up. And, I'm a pretty quiet guy, but I just, really take pride in the way I go about my business and, doing the right things. And, being a captain's not necessarily something you, aspire to be. It's kind of just something that comes, naturally, I suppose. And, obviously anytime you can be a captain at any level is a huge honor. And, I've obviously been fortunate and, I've learned from a lot of great captains on, teams that I've been on as a young guy and looking up to those guys. I look at a guy like Anders Lee, who, I played high school with here at Edina, and then, he was a captain, then going to Notre Dame. He was my, captain as a freshman, and obviously now he's a captain of the Islanders. So we have, kind of similar path. Obviously he's where he is now, but he's definitely a guy that I've kind of, idolized growing up. But, like I said, being a captain is a tremendous honor, and it's very humbling, and it's definitely something I take pride in.
So it's hard to believe that over the course of your career with the Rangers, you've been to camps with 3 different head coaches. How tough is that for a young player having to make new impressions each time a new coach comes in and wanting to leave your mark so you stand out, so when it comes time to fill the roster or make call-ups, they're in the back of their mind. You're in the back of their mind.
Yeah, I think, everyone's in the same boat too, that, is coming in with you and, free agents or anything that's, new to the organization. So, coming out of college, I think my first year, I just kind of wanted to, see what it was like and kind of feel it out as far as what, it takes to play at the NHL level. And, obviously, those Rangers teams when I was, in college and whatnot were, making deep Stanley Cup runs. So I was, being able to be a part of the organization at the time and, just seeing the way the team operated and the coaching staff was, very eye-opening for me, and I think huge for me. And then obviously with the transition over these last few years with, David Quinn coming in and that coaching staff and, the job they've done with this, young, I guess, rebuild, if you will, is, pretty remarkable. And, as far as me coming into camp, again, just trying to build every year and, make my mark when I, get an opportunity to do that, whether it's in preseason or, when I'm down in Hartford, my goal ultimately is to always get back to New York. And I think that's what fuels me. And, like I said, just the coaching changes have been, I think great for the organization. And again, you can see the development the organization has made these last 2 years and, especially this year.
April 7th, 2018, you realized your dream in Philadelphia. What do you remember about your entire first game NHL experience?
Yeah, people say it's always a blur, but it really was. That being the last game of the season. Obviously I was kind of, thinking, well, yeah, there goes another year where I didn't get my opportunity. And then I just remember got off the ice for pregame skate in Hartford, and, coach called me in and said, "You're going up, you're playing in Philadelphia tomorrow, and with so many emotions, you don't really know what to do or say. And obviously, I got my parents, on the phone and told them what was going on, and I'm glad they were able to make it out there. And my brother, that game was just pretty special. Even though the Rangers were out of the playoffs at the time, I think Philadelphia had to win that game. So they were firing on all cylinders, and to be able to just soak it in and realize that, hey, I'm playing in the NHL. I've achieved my dream was something I will always cherish and look back on.
You get another 10 games last season. What's the major difference for you as far as the NHL game compared to the AHL game? And what are some of the things that you had to work on to make that transition?
Yeah, it's the best league in the world for a reason. I think, it's just, especially now, it's so fast, and, there's every player, all four lines, all 60 L2 goalies are elite athletes, and, it's just a consistency thing. And, no matter where you are in the lineup and no matter your ice time, your minutes, you got to make an impact, every time you're out there, or else, someone else is there to take your job. So, I think it started with that first game in Philadelphia. It gave me that taste of the NHL and, makes you want it even more. And I think just that following summer, I had a great summer and, wanted to come into camp, wanting to make that team. And, obviously being sent down was disappointing, but it just, I wanted to get back up there so bad. And I guess over the last, year and a half here, I've just tried to get better and better. And, having that goal to get back up there for good is always fueling me. And, just establishing that level of consistency and, realizing, how fast and how, strong the game is nowadays. And, I continue to work on those parts of my game to, hopefully be a mainstay.
So this season, when you got sent down, you get to watch Igor Shesterkin transition from playing in Russia to playing in North America prior to his promotion to the NHL. Ranger fans have been watching his career very, very closely and couldn't wait to see him play at the Garden. What did you learn about him after watching him play, half of the season down in Hartford?
There's so many things I can say. From day one, we would just always say, wow, this guy is amazing. And I think he truly fueled our team in Hartford this year. We were, top of the standings for a long time there. And I think he was certainly, the main reason for that. And to be able to actually be up for his first NHL game there against Colorado was, a really cool experience. And, I got the chills when the Garden fans were chanting his name. But, I think, credit to the organization and, Benoit Allaire for realizing, the potential this young man had. And, obviously the success he's had so far, in the KHL or international play and then in the American League and then now in the NHL, doesn't surprise me. And, I just can't wait to see, what's next for him and, if he's even got another level.
So you get recalled in December when Brendan Lemieux breaks his hand. The Rangers go 3-3 in the 6 games that you're up. You then get recalled again on the emergency basis for the 3-11 game in Colorado. The very next day, the season is put on pause. So first, tell me how you found out about the pause and the information you were given at that point.
I know at that time it was starting to come out. Obviously the nation was starting to realize the danger of this whole pandemic, and obviously sports were still going on. I just remember I was on my way to Colorado that day, the day of the game, and just in the airport, I was seeing more and more masks and whatnot, and just kind of realizing the severity of it. And then I just remember that day, the NBA got postponed their season, and then we had our game. And then after the game, we come in the locker room expecting to pack up our bags and head to Arizona. And I just remember the equipment staff was saying, just leave your stuff alone, just air it out, don't pack it up. So we were all kind of wondering what was going on. And then we kind of heard rumblings that the NHL was going to follow suit of the NBA there. And so we stayed that night in Denver, and the next morning, we headed to the airport, and we still weren't really sure if we were headed to Arizona or back to New York. So eventually they came over the intercom and said we were heading back to, White Plains there, and that's kind of when it hit. So definitely a weird time for everybody. And, obviously, I wanted to, keep playing the NHL, but obviously there's stuff that's way more important than that.
Well, obviously there's so many people affected because of this pandemic. Family members lost, some of them in the hospitals fighting for their lives. Some families not knowing where their next meal is coming from. Small business owners struggling to hold on long enough to hope to survive their businesses when this is all over that they can go back to. And while I'm no way comparing any of those with what players are going through, but this does have a huge impact on your life. You're 27 years old at this point. This is a big year for you. You were putting up nice numbers in the AHL. You're a free agent at the conclusion of this season. Again, not comparing to the life-threatening conditions that people are dealing with right now and the problems as far as businesses. But what impact has the pandemic had on your thought process going forward in regards to your career?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, there's so many other people who, have it, obviously way worse, and, businesses, families have, been, taking huge hits and huge tolls, and it's, my heart goes out to them, and obviously I want to just, express my gratitude for all those who are, working on the front lines and helping this whole thing. And I guess in retrospect, if you look at it, relative to me, I have it so easy, but, it is certainly difficult. There's a lot of, questions obviously going forward and a lot of uncertainty, but, we're just trying to really take it day by day, and that's all we can do. And I know it sounds cliche, but that really is the moral of the story. And, we just kind of look at the bigger picture and realize, we do have it pretty good regardless of, the uncertainty and a lot of the questions we have unanswered. So, as far as where I'm at is I'm just trying to, stay in shape regardless of what happens here with the NHL season, and, kind of take, the next step of my life as they come. So right now, just, staying in shape and trying to just see what happens here.
A lot of people might not know this, but you were the Wolfpack's winner of the IOA, American Specialty AHL Man of the Year Award for your outstanding contributions to the Hartford community during the 2019-20 season on the strength of your volunteer work at shelters, youth programs such as the PAL, the annual Bowl-a-thon for Special Olympics, and many other community initiatives such as youth school reading programs, several hospital visits at the Connecticut Children's Medical Center. You've been a leader behind the commitment and participation of Wolfpack players at community and team events. So where does that sense of service for you come from? As obviously this is something that we are going to need in a big way going forward.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I guess I was recognized for that award, but, that doesn't go without saying. There's so many guys on our team that, give back and do the same thing, on every team at every level. But I think it just goes back to, there's a lot of people in need that, need help and, maybe just need, an extra hand, whether, it's, helping kids or helping those who, just need maybe a little bit of push or anything. So, it's not necessarily something you go out and try to win or anything like that, but, it's certainly, very, it's a big honor and humbling to, be credited with something like that. But, I like giving back, and like I said, just being around kids who may be sick or something and just seeing their, see them smile, it really puts things in perspective and just makes you want to be, a better person, realize how good you have it. And, that's something that I think just goes back to the way I was, raised and all that. So it's certainly something that, I certainly enjoy doing.
So we've been hearing these rumblings coming out of the commissioner's office and various places out there, and not sure exactly, what it's going to look like, but it looks like when the season resumes is going to be an expanded tournament. And right now the Rangers look like they're going to be in it. It also looks like there's going to be an expanded roster to deal with the short period of time that people have to get ready. What are you looking forward to the most? What have you been doing to stay ready? Are you starting to ramp up a little more? Do you have a target date where you think you're going to be in a camp someplace getting ready to play? And have you been in communication with Coach Quinn and some of your teammates?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we try to stay off social media as far as hearing these rumors, but there is, I guess, some truth to some of it. So, whether it is that expanded playoff or not, I think that's kind of what they're leaning towards of, some form. So, to be able to have the Rangers have an opportunity to be in that is pretty cool. And yeah, I'm just starting to stay in shape, and I think there's some guys in Minnesota here that actually starting to skate here in a little bit. So, hopefully maybe try to get on the ice pretty soon here and just get my timing back. And, it's hard to say when, that return would be. And, I think maybe July is kind of a realistic date or time frame. So, hopefully get on the ice for a couple weeks before getting back there, and then I guess the conditioning will take care of itself for one of those camps. But the organization has done a great job of kind of keeping us in the loop as much as possible. It's hard when there really is no definitive answers, but the guys are talking here and there, and I guess all teams are kind of in the same boat of not knowing. But it's up to them to stay in shape and be ready for when they do get the call.
Have you spoken to Coach Quinn at all in the last couple of weeks?
No, I have not.
Okay. So before I even ask this, I know that this is probably maybe the most ridiculous question I've ever asked on this show, but here it goes. So during this pandemic, I actually bought myself a PS4, and I'm addicted to NHL 20 and the show. I know that NHL and Major League Baseball players have been in tournaments that have been televised on ESPN. So first off, do you have a gaming system?
Yes.
Okay. Do you play NHL 20?
I do.
All right. So here's the question. When you play NHL 20, do you always take the Wolfpack or the Rangers, or do you take other teams?
I guess usually when I play, I kind of just pick and choose a team. Sometimes I just do like a random team, but if I do land on the Rangers, I'll certainly be them. But I think it's kind of fun to just kind of mix around who I'm playing with. But maybe if I'm playing a buddy, I'll be the Rangers, and maybe he'll be the team that he's on. So it really depends.
So here's the ultimate question on that. So I think it's pretty cool when I score a goal, being like one of my favorite players. Especially I love the alumni teams. They're crazy when you got guys playing with graphite sticks and guys playing with wood sticks on the same team, which is awesome. But when you score as yourself, that's got to be kind of strange, no?
Yeah, I mean, I guess playing the game growing up my whole life, I've never ever imagined being in the game. I can't say I'm ever, play as myself with other people, maybe just by myself. And I guess, maybe if I do score with myself, I'll maybe give a little bigger smile. But I've always enjoyed playing the NHL games. And, I think you ask a lot of guys around the league, they're saying the same thing.
All right. So what are some of the other things you were doing to keep busy aside from training and video games?
I'm actually living with a guy I played with at Notre Dame, Cal Peterson, who's the goalie out for the LA Kings. So he actually just got a puppy, and then I'm scheduled to get a puppy here in 2 weeks. So we'll be definitely busy, and hopefully the puppies will keep each other busy. But it's kind of been fun to kind of see how he has been interacting with his puppy and trying to take some notes of what to learn.
Do you have a name picked out for the dog yet?
I'm kind of going back and forth. I think it's kind of something that will come natural, but hopefully I'll have one by the time I pick them up.
Awesome. So, Stephen, I don't know what media post games are going to look like post COVID-19, but like I said in the open, and like I said back in 2011, I truly look forward to asking you that question about how that first NHL goal felt, and really, I hope it's soon for sure. So, first of all, thanks for always, keeping in touch and talking hockey whenever we need to talk hockey, and I really appreciate it.
No, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, and stay safe and hopefully talk soon.
All right. Thanks so much, Stephen Fogarty of the New York Rangers. We're going to be back with a little more NHL talk with Russ Cohen, so keep it tuned right here.
Since 1952, Solomon's Jewelers has been the name to trust on Long Island for jewelry. Solomon's Jewelers is a 60-year-old family-owned business run by jewelry professionals and Gemological Institute of America graduates. 3 generations of experience let them offer you certified appraisals. They have a highly skilled design, repair, and watchmaker staff on premises for all your restyling needs. Solomon Jewelers offers a wide variety of magnificent designer couture jewelry, name brand watches, and certified diamonds. Solomon Jewelers pride themselves on having the best customer service and support in the jewelry industry. They're there with 60 years of experience behind them to help educate and guide you through every step of your jewelry purchase. Solomon Jewelers has 2 convenient locations to serve Long Island's jewelry needs. 74 Minetto Hill Plaza, Plainview, New York, or 1030 Willis Avenue, Albertston, New York. Visit them on the web at www.solomonjewelers.com. Solomon Jewelers, serving Long Island since 1952.
Since 1964, Prince Associates' commitment has been to provide customers with the best insurance value and service available while maintaining the highest ethical standards and credibility with their clients, carriers, and the public. Prince Associates Incorporated is an independent insurance agency with a broad range of commercial, personal, life, and health products. Prince Associates has aligned themselves with some of the finest carriers to deliver these products to you. So whether you're a business or an individual, Prince Associates can help. Please visit them on the web at princeins.com for an online quote, or call them at 516-822-6550. Tell them Mark and AJ sent you. Prince Associates, meeting your every insurance need since 1964.
And welcome back to 540 AM Sports Talk New York. Mark Roseman sitting here solo with Rich on the other side, 6 feet away, and we are social distancing. And we hope you're enjoying the show. If you just tuned in, you missed a great 30 minutes with New York Rangers Stephen Fogarty, and you'll be able to hear that or watch the replay live on Facebook Live. If you are watching us on Facebook Live, feel free to send questions in the comment section. We'll get to that. We might even have some open phones tonight as well. The number is on the bottom there, 631-955-5400. But right now, it's time for the NHL Report with Russ Cohn. It's sponsored by our friends over at Soho Table Hockey. What's table hockey, you say? Some of us might have grown up with rod hockey or bubble hockey or even air hockey tables. Soho Table Hockey has embraced the nostalgia of those old tabletop games and designed a whole new board for the future. Handcrafted with designer wood, state-of-the-art playing surface, unbendable rods. That was the worst part of those games, if you remember. Energy-absorbing walls. This is tabletop hockey game that players age 8 to 80 can enjoy. Even better, the exceptional quality and design allows the game to stand up to the intensity of tournaments, which is why Soho Table Hockey is the #1 choice of championship players throughout North America. Visit SohoTableHockey.com to learn more and start your order on a custom game. You can choose your wood, a centerized logo, and even the team matchups. Go ahead, drop the puck. You'll love Soho Table Hockey so much you won't be able to stop playing. All right, Russ, so you know what? We might start playing soon. So there has been, and we asked Stephen Fogarty about this, and he said that they kind of stay off social media. They try not to listen to the rumors. But right now, there's a very strong rumor out there that the NHL season is going to resume probably sometime in July, probably in a 24-team type tournament. How is that going to look? Where will the sites be? Will there be fans? Tell us what you're hearing right now.
Well, there definitely won't be fans. The sites are really up in the air. It seems like Toronto may now have a good edge, and it seemed for a little while Carolina might, although you do kind of wonder because they have cropped up as a hot spot not that long ago that if they would rethink that. Those two spots that keep coming up, Arizona seems to have cooled now, so I'm not sure there. We don't really know about the locations as much. We also, when you look at it, they haven't fully decided. I know everybody's saying they've made progress in the talks, but to me, it's kind of going a little slow. Like I thought at this point, they would have had it announced, and maybe by Tuesday or something they will. But I just thought by this coming week they should have it announced. Now it does seem like the June draft is close to being dead. That's problematic because a lot of teams have assistant managers, assistant GMs and scouts and everybody contracted through June 30th. You're going to have some pretty empty draft tables because nobody's going to hire anybody with nothing to scout because none of the other leagues are working. And then you have to also hope that if a scout gets hired by another team, he doesn't kind of give away what he knows about your draft plan. But that's going to be a little clunky, I think. But that's the way they seem to want to go with it. So it looks like a September or October draft. I think the season would start July 1st. I don't think they would be dumb enough, I have to use that word, to start at the same day as Major League Baseball. I think that would be foolish, but, you never know. The best thing I could say, though, looking at it, we looked at a bracketed thing that I saw for the 24, and so the Rangers would open up against the Leafs. And again, I don't think it matters who has home ice because nobody has home ice. And then the Islanders would open up against Columbus. Two interesting series. I think the biggest issue that I have, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, I'm not going to bitch and moan about it, but teams now are different than teams then. Like, I had Steve Valiquette on a show, and he's saying how teams have been calling him and going over mistakes they made this season in net, or scoring and otherwise. They're all going to tighten that up. Guys are healthy. So team looked like the Rangers looked like a playoff team with Shesterkin in there, right?
Right.
Then when he got hurt, they looked like they were going to drop out. Now they're going to make the playoffs, it seems, and he'll be healthy. So it's like, it's really, the ebb and flow of the season is lost. And so to me, it's like, it's almost like, what is it, 1981 when they had the first, second half winners for baseball?
Right.
It kind of reminds me of that.
So you mentioned Shesterkin, and obviously if the Rangers are in this tournament, he's your goalie.
Yes.
Who's number 2?
That's a really good question because Georgi has never played in the playoffs. And me personally, this is just me. Mm-hmm. If Shesterkin didn't look good, something happened, he was, just had a bad game, and it's only a 3-game series, I got to throw Lundqvist in there. I do, based on the experience factor and everything else, because if I can get a great game out of him, I move on. I've got 2 inexperienced playoff goalies. Yes, Shesterkin has played in the KHL playoffs, but that's it, and Georgiev's never played in the playoffs. So I kind of have to put Hank as the number 2, to be honest. That's me. I don't know what Quinn's going to do. Quinn hasn't seemed to want to use Lundqvist that much at all this season, so he may have differing opinions.
Now, the other thing is that with this tournament, we've also heard that there's going to be an expanded roster. One of those roster spots, interestingly enough, for the Rangers might be open, believe it or not, for Lias Andersson. Okay, what would that look like? Lias Andersson coming back to the Rangers in a tournament-type setting.
Well, I mean, he's had a really good year. Actually, I was talking about another player who played on his team, and people were I think it was Priorvi, actually. I think he's playing on the same team as him. Somebody like that. And I'm like, well, Lias Andersson's actually doing better. I think it would be fine. I think it's really all about how he is received, which I think the players would receive him fine. And, he doesn't get hammered with, hey, you can't make a mistake, don't do this. I think if they give him just a little bit of breathing room, they can get good results out of him because, it's going to be a 50-man roster. And if you remember, this seems like a year ago, but, I interviewed him. It really does. It seems like a year ago. But I interviewed him preseason here in Philly, and he was full of confidence. And if you remember, he was like their best defensive forward for some of those preseason games.
Absolutely.
If he could get that back, that's valuable for the team.
Right. You take a look at some of the other things, and we just had Steve Fogarty, and we try to put it in perspective of what's going on in the world. I mean, you have Stephen Fogarty, who's 27. He's going into free agency. He was having a very good year down in the AHL. He was recalled for the Rangers. He was on the team. Then the pause came. He probably would have been up a while because Hedl was suffering from the upper body injury at that time, so he would have been up again. What does this pause and then directly into a playoff tournament mean to players in the same boat as Stephen Fogarty?
Well, it means you're on the team, which is better than not being anywhere because there's no AHL. It just means you're part of a 50-man roster and a hell of a taxi squad. Right. Like, that's really what it means. It means you'll get to practice with these guys. You'll, in a way, this will be better for goalies and for some of the older players because they won't have to go through these full practices because you'll have almost 2 teams worth to practice, right? But end of the day, he'll be more of a part of the Rangers now than he would have been if they made the playoffs even after everything had happened because, Hedl would have come back. He would have just sat anyhow, but now he'll get to go through this new camp with them or whatever, preseason games they might play to get ready. So I think in a way, this is better for him.
You take a look at various things right now. During the week, we did a Facebook Live edition of the show with Archamsky, and we talked about the 69 reunion, and he said, it's a good thing it happened last year because if it was this year, it probably would have been canceled, and maybe Jerry Kuzman's number being retired. Whether it be postponed, even if it's not postponed, it's going to be in front of nobody and not fans. Right. It'll just be televised. That being said, you take a look at the season Ovechkin was having. There are certain things that we're not going to get to see. He was making that historic run. Now that's gone out the window. What are some of the things, personal milestone related that this season, at the pause in the season and the resumption into a tournament. Now, that's the other thing. Will these tournament records, like of Ovechkin scores in the first round of this, are these going to be regular season goals?
No, it counts.
So
it depends. It depends. It probably won't count. I shouldn't.
Right, because it's a playoff, right?
It's a playoff. Yeah, it's going to be the playoffs. They're going to go directly to the playoffs, so it won't count.
It won't count, which is interesting.
It'll count as just playoff numbers.
Playoff numbers, which is very interesting. So what are some of the milestones that were within reach and were probably obtainable by a number of players that this season, severely put in jeopardy? Obviously, Henrik's numbers. I don't know how many more games he was going to play anyway, especially because they were fighting for a playoff spot. But Ovechkin's run at these goals. What else are some of the things that we might have forgot that players were on pace to break or reach?
I'll be honest. I don't have a good feeling for what milestones we're tracking, but I can give you a few other things. So I interviewed somebody for the draft, Anton Lundell, who maybe will be a top 10, 12 pick, something like that. He played a game in Finland before they stopped with no fans. And he said it was completely weird. So as weird as we think this is going to be, he knows it's weird. Like, he experienced it. None of these NHLers have really experienced it. We all make the jokes, Florida has no fans, whatever. You can make it for whatever team. But the idea is they really don't know. And so there is that unknown. With Lundqvist, I got to tell you, and this is nothing that has been talked about, my feeling for him is, and I would like to have seen him get in one more good win at MSG, because I think he's going to retire after this paused season gets unpaused.
I feel the same. I don't, and listen, neither of us have heard anything to that, but no. I think it's the same thing. Like, I think he realizes that A, the writing's on the wall. He's not going to play that much next season. B, it's going to be tougher to go from being off, trying to get ready for this tournament, should he have to play, then a very short season to try and get ready again. And I think also with what's going on in the world, he values his family time a lot. And, listen, he'll get some sort of contract from the Rangers to do something, and he's not hurting for money. I think he walks away, and it's a shame. There'll be a Henrik Lundqvist day sometime down the road, but it is a shame that the Ranger fans didn't really know that they might have been watching Henrik's last game as a Ranger when they were watching it.
Right, that bugs me. Another guy, Justin Williams, said this is it for him. So if he gets unpaused, he is going to give it one more run, and then we'll never see him again. If we never come back, you've just seen the last of Justin Williams. Again, really good guy, really great player, has won a cup. Has won multiple cups, actually.
It would be fitting that his last game's playoffs, because he is a playoff performer for sure.
And they won't be the only ones. Again, this is an unusual situation, and I liken this to after the lockout. We saw guys just simply retire when teams came back after the lockout, because a lot had changed. They had sat for a while. Now, this one's going to be different, because this one you're like, hey, the season ends, and I only got 54 games to get ready, and you got to go into the next season. I think there are going to be some older players, Thornton and otherwise, that are just going to be like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Well, that's the other thing. We're hearing rumblings from some Major League Baseball players that it's not worth the risk to their health to do this. Do you think there'll be a number of players that just say, not that are retiring, that are looking to play next year, saying, listen, you know what, 24-team tournament, just not worth it to me?
I think there will be. I mean, I don't know what exact quotes Radko Gudas gave the other day, but I believe he said something close to that. But again, he's always kind of been a little off track anyhow. But I do think there are going to be players like that, because, again, we can't consider these guys just robots. Yes, they want to win. Yes, they want to compete. I know with baseball it looked greedy with Blake Snell talking about what he was talking about, but you do have to put it in context. And so I know with somebody who had COVID, and, in a couple of months they're going to get their lungs MRI, because there could be permanent damage there. Now, if you're a pitcher and you come down with it because baseball resumed, yes, you'll get over it. Chances are you will not pass, but it could affect the rest of your career. And so I think when players are talking about it's not worth it based on my salary being cut, that's one thing. Now, hockey players, because they finished part of the season and it's unfinished, the run for the cup, I think their feeling is stronger. So I don't think you'll have as many. But that's only because they've got, the season in the bag already. I think baseball ran into the tremendous problem of having to start the full season and getting guys to restart again like spring training. If that were the same for hockey, I think we'd be getting, more backlash.
I agree. All right, lastly, before we let you go, I asked this question to John Coppinger, and I think it's probably easier to do in an arena. We all know what certain teams practice for playoffs or Super Bowl, and they're in the empty arena. They have the PA system blaring with music and crowd noises. To enhance the viewership on TV, do you think if the Rangers, even though they're going to be at neutral sites, obviously one team has to be deemed the home team because they get the last line change and the shorter line changes as the periods change, do you think the NHL public relations people or the people that handle game day for each team will put together crowd noises, for Rangers, if they score a goal, to have the cheering as well as the goal noise? Same thing for the Islanders with the yes, 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 to enhance that even though there's no crowd there, we'll still hear crowd noises and let's go Ranger chants.
I don't think they should do that, and I forget his name, but the gentleman who plays the organ at MSG, they should bring the organ players back, even if they're doing it from home, but if you could bring them back, it's even better, and just let them play. They're terrific. I remember one time I ran into him at in between periods, and I said, hey, we were chatting. I said I was a big Yes fan, started third period, he played some of that. These guys and women have a natural knack for the feel of the game, and if we had at least the organs, I think that would spice things up, and it would feel like we were there.
I can't help but smile when you say that, because the first thing that popped in my mind is don't ever play Lady of Spain again. So it's like Slapshot just comes. It always comes back to Slapshot for sure.
It does.
All right, Russ, stay safe, stay healthy. Looking forward to some hockey where we can talk about actual games. Russ Cohn, heard here each and every week with the Soho Hockey NHL Report. Keep it tuned right here. On the other side of the break, we're going to be speaking to GF Sports Executive Vice President Rich Lisk. So keep it tuned right here at the 540 Sports Talk New York, as well as on the Facebook Live app.
The views, opinions, and statements expressed in the preceding program reflect the views of program contributors and do not necessarily reflect the views of WBWD Radio, its management, or its sponsors. For questions and comments, please send us an email at contact@bali540am.com or visit us at bali540am.com.
For every occasion, make it from the heart with a special gift from Ford's Jewelers.
From the heart, from the start, for the one who's a true work of art. Together or far apart, make it from the heart.
For an endless selection of gifts from the heart, see Ford's Jewelers. With watches from Omega, Tag Heuer, and over 30 other top brands. A huge selection of certified diamonds at the guaranteed lowest prices. Jewelry designs by Scott K, Simon G, and many others. Fine gifts and accessories by Lennox, Swarovski, Yadro, and more. For fine diamonds, jewelry, watches, and gifts at amazing savings, see Ford's Jewelers.
Together or far apart, make it from the heart.
For every occasion, see Ford's Jewelers, New Jersey's legendary jeweler. 449 New Brunswick Avenue in Ford's.
The Hermanson Community Radio Show is on Bali 540 AM every Saturday morning at 9. With over 2 decades of service to the tri-state area, including announcements, exclusive events, and all your favorite music, the Hermanson Community Radio Show Saturday mornings from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. To contact the Hermanson Community Radio Show for a special request or announcement, call 718-805-4900. That's 718-805-4900. The Hermanson Community Radio Show on Bali 540 AM. For all your real estate needs, call 718-805-4900.
During this unprecedented time in New Jersey, it is important to stay safe and healthy in all areas of your life. At 800 Gambler, we realize that social distancing can lead to increased time spent with online gambling due to feelings of isolation, loneliness, and boredom. Our helpline remains available 24 hours per day, 7 days per week to provide support, treatment, and hope to those in need. If you or someone you know is struggling with or living with someone who has a gambling problem and wants help, call us today at 800-GAMBLER or visit us at www.800gambler.org. We remain a phone call or click away. You're never alone. This message sponsored by the Council on Compulsive Gambling of New Jersey, the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Cap off a weekend of watching sports by talking about it with Mark Rosenman and AJ Carter on Sports Talk New York. All the intelligent conversation, insightful interviews, and reporters covering every story is right here on 540 AM from 7 to 8:30 Sunday nights. Check out SportsTalkNY.com for previews of upcoming guests and visit their Facebook page for a chance to win prizes. Sports Talk New York, Sunday nights from 7 to 8:30 on 540 AM.
In the wake of the coronavirus, many schools and colleges are utilizing distance learning. While distance learning may be the best way to keep students and school staff safe, students and educators alike will surely miss the personal interactions and social opportunities that take place in regular school settings. Here are some ways to make the most of distance learning. First of all, stay on a schedule. It's easy to put things off when you work from home. Get up, get dressed, and keep regular lunch breaks. Make time for online social interactions. Students can create study groups that can meet online to review lessons and ask questions. Get up and move. Take a break every hour to take a walk around the house, drink some water, and wash your hands. Stay alert and practice healthy habits. Eat dinner as a family. Talk about what you learned each day. Keep a regular sleep schedule. It's easy to get off track and stay up late watching television or playing video games when you don't have to leave the house. Remember, it's still a school day. This message is sponsored by the New Jersey Education Association, the New Jersey Broadcasters Association, and this station.
You're listening to WBWD 540 AM, Islip, New York, a part of Universal Stations, LLC.
The views, opinions, and statements expressed in the following program reflect the views of program contributors and do not necessarily reflect the views of WBWD Radio, its management, or its sponsors. For questions and comments, please send us an email at contact@bali540am.com or visit us at bali540am.com.
Hi, I'm Howie Rose, and you're listening to Mark and AJ on 540 Sports Talk New York.
The third baseman, number 11, Mark Rosenman.
Okay, so I know I'm a child. I'm sorry. I just, every single time I get the opportunity, I like to play that Colin Cosell, my walk-up music, and then what's the matter?
The look on your face, because I knew it. I said, I'm gonna out of the corner of my eye, for everybody who's watching on Facebook Live, Mark is he's about the business, right? So he's focused in on his laptop. He's focused in on the mic where he is, he has his notes ready for the interview. But just as when that music starts up and he's about to have his name called by Cosell, his face just lights up and his smile, and I'm just like, look at this little kid.
You don't know, but I carry that around on my phone, and I play it every room I walk into in my house. I go into the bathroom that's playing. And, there is a method to my madness because Colin Cosell is also the PA announcer for the Riptide. So we're going to get that. So just a quick message for all you that are watching on Facebook Live. It's a new platform for us. We've been using it and we like it. This is a lot. The chance for interaction is there. You can post a comment in Facebook and we see it and we can pop it up on the screen. So it's very cool. So listen to this. So I already got that he's playing that walk up for me when I play in the charity softball game, whenever that happens. That's from Matt Littner. So that's pretty funny. He just heard that. So, the Facebook Live is another avenue that we're using, obviously, over terrestrial radio. We don't want you typing in while you're driving, but if you are at home, which everyone pretty much is, it's one of those things that you can just pop a comment, especially when we have a guest. Our first guest, Stephen Fogarty of the Rangers, and our upcoming guests. If you have comments or questions that you'd like asked of them, just put it in the comments. We see it, and we'll ask them of our guest. Joining us now is a man who has more than 25 years experience in the sports industry. He was the general manager of the New England Black Wolves in the NLL. During his tenure, the team went to the playoffs 4 consecutive seasons, and Inside Lacrosse recognized him as its 2016 General Manager of the Year for his work. In addition to his time in the NLL, he was a general manager of the Philadelphia Soul in the AFL and president and general manager of East Coast Hockey League's Trenton Titans, an affiliate of the Flyers. He is currently the executive vice president of GA Sports, which is a live events and sports media entertainment company which owns 2 of the ATP World Tour's longest running American tournaments, the New York Open and the BB&T Atlanta Open, as well as the New York National Lacrosse League's expansion team right here, the Riptide. In addition, GF Sports is partnered with the American Kennel Club, and it is a pleasure to welcome Rich Lisk to Sports Talk New York. Welcome, Rich.
Wow, that was the greatest intro I've ever had, and I like my walk-up music to be Badlands by Bruce too. I appreciate you having me.
You're ready. You're already a hit on this. On this show. We've got 2 Bruce references in 3 minutes after the break, so gotta love that. First off, let's the question we ask everyone that we speak to these days: how are you holding up, and what have you been doing to occupy your time in these really tough times?
Well, I started, it's actually a funny story. I started with GF Sports in January, and I got an apartment in Garden City. And I came home on the weekend of March the 17th. I live in New Jersey, born and bred in New Jersey, and we're selling our house to move to Long Island. So I come home on the weekends, my wife and I get the house fixed up and stuff, and I have 3 children, 2 in college, 1 out of college. And that weekend, everyone came home, and we never went back. So I've been home here in New Jersey for the last 9 weeks. But the good thing is that, we've been working really, really hard. The Riptide, the GF Sports, we had just had the Atlanta Open canceled through the ATP, but we were diligently working on that marketing plan and the sales plan. So now we'll shift our focus in tennis over to the New York Open in February. And with the Riptide, they canceled our season, but they kept a playoff hope possibly alive. They have not officially canceled any playoffs, but we were 1-12, right? So we won't be making the playoffs. So it gave us an opportunity to hit the reset button and really come up with a marketing plan for next year. Start selling our season tickets for next year. Working on a broadcast deal. We launched a podcast. We launched our Spotify list. We've been very active in the social media realm and active with our players, reaching out to the fans and talking to them and doing a bunch of stuff. So we've been really real busy actually. And I look at it as like an opportunity for us to kind of accentuate the things we did really well and fix the things that I don't think we didn't do well at all and start a new fresh season.
Well, it's interesting you said that. Let's start with the Riptides. And with respects to canceling the remainder of the season, maybe not the worst thing for a 1-12 team. But in all seriousness, how does something like this impact a team that's just starting out in this market? 1-12, obviously, you're not generating a lot of buzz other than the fact it's a new team. It's a sport that's come back to the area that hadn't been in a long time. You're garnering some interest, and then boom, the rug's pulled out from under you. No season. How do you maintain whatever momentum you were getting? And when you sit down and you look at that business model, which might include next season, selling tickets, 1/3 of the arena because of social distancing still might be in place. What are the talks that go on now to try and maintain or pick up momentum again?
That's a great question. I couldn't agree with some of those statements more. Part of you is, I mean this in the utmost respectful way, we were 1-12, right? So part of you is like, okay, it's over. It's done. Even if we won our last couple of games, you'd still end up with a losing record, and we would have ended on a high note of winning. But it's over. It's done with. Let's go. And with that being said, that sets us up pretty well for a really high draft pick next year in the draft. But it also gave us the opportunity, again, like I said, was to hit the reset button, and look at some things. And you're correct. Like, we had momentum. We had our biggest game of the year, attendance-wise, right before we left. And the next 3 games were trending in that direction also. So I look at that as a huge positive. So this thing hits, and we're all sitting there saying, okay, what do we do now? So let's regroup. Let's get our bearings. The league, I give the league a lot of credit. Nick Sakevich, Jessica Berman, our commissioner and deputy commissioner, swift action, canceled it right away. So there was no hanging over our heads, what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. Let's get this going and let's do that. Some of the things we did, like I had all the players call our season ticket holders and talk to them. And it wasn't like, hey, what are you going to do for next year? Are you going to buy season tickets? It was more like, hey, you're part of our Riptide family. How are you doing? How's your family? How's your kids? What are you guys doing? And a lot of those people were great. It was awesome. And some of them we didn't get on the phone, or we wanted to talk to their children. We couldn't. So my players sent video messages to all the kids too, to really do that. And then we started doing training tips. Then we one of the games that got canceled was a fan appreciation game. So we did a virtual fan appreciation week where we gave out prizes to the fans, and they could call up, and Colin was one of our hosts, and Colin was giving out, gifts that you couldn't get before. So next year fans are going to go to dinner with the coaches and sit in on the pregame meal and sit in on the pregame speeches and things like that. So it got us a chance to be a little more creative. And then when we figured out, okay, what are we going to do for next year? We put into place our marketing plan for next year, which we're going to launch here in the next couple of weeks. But it's going to be, it's a play on some words that we're playing with. But we also then started trying to get our season ticket holders that we had some of their money. And people are wanting to know what's going on with the rest of the season. So we came up with a plan to renew them. And I'm proud to say 60% of them have renewed with us. And they didn't have any bad thing to say about the team. They understood that, we're an expansion team and we were starting off. So that was great. And so we're trending in a very good direction. And I think that momentum from the end of the season has really translated into it. Now it's our job to stay relevant. So we went to our partners. I like to say partnerships instead of sponsorships, because they're truly our partners. And we started doing things in the community with them. Mass Pest Federal. They did, every time our goalie made a save, they donated $5. We took those $5 this last couple of weeks, equaled $5,000, and we went to Catholic Charities and we gave that money to them to buy PPE equipment for local hospitals. We're working with Jersey Mike's. Jersey Mike's and ourselves, we're going on our 3rd week where we're delivering box lunches and dinners to senior care living facilities. And we're going to hit about 1,600 people with that. Orland and Cohen, our big partner that does all of our medical training. We're making masks with Orland and Cohen. These are some of the things that we did at the end of the season with our partners to really keep it out there and keep it fresh with us. And it's really worked really, really well. And I'm happy to say that our partners really took to it and wanted to be there with us. So that's been exciting.
So, those are things that, because of what's going on in the news, those things go somewhat uncut, they're not really brought out in the media, and people don't know that, other than, the season ticket holders that you reached out to, they know that. But here's the interesting thing for me. Okay. So a sports fan, if you're a fan of baseball, hockey, basketball, or football, you can get your fix from any of those, because they all have their own networks that replay vintage or classic games. Just over here, if you pop on one of the local sports radio, they're playing an old basketball game on the radio. And if you're not into that, you can pick up any video game and play baseball, football, basketball, or hockey. Right now, the NLL doesn't have that luxury yet. There's not a EA Sports NLL, lacrosse, indoor lacrosse game where people can relate to the players and such. You've done a lot of stuff to try and get the brand out. Through this, all those initiatives that you talked about, whether it be the virtual training or reaching out to season ticket holders and calling them, what department is responsible for that, and what are some of the innovative things that are on the horizon to really try and grow this sport? Because it's tough in a marketplace that has the 4 majors, and then you add in golf, and then you add in soccer, and you add in all these other things. What is the plan, especially now with this, to try and grow the sport?
It's a great question. We talk about this all the time, a lot at the league level too. And again, I'll go back to Nick Sikevich and Jessica Berman, the leaders of our league. You know, a couple of years ago, they struck a deal with Turner Broadcasting. So a couple of years ago, before that, we were kind of on YouTube TV, your local TV. You were there. There really wasn't a network per se kind of carrying us. And we think, you know, we're not one of the major big sports yet. We're not in that, you know, you can say the top 4, top 5 Major League Soccer. So where do we go? How do we do that? How do we build our database? How do we build our brand? So they found a great partner in Bleacher Report. And Bleacher Report is owned by Turner Broadcasting. And they took a chance on us. In the last couple of years, we've been there. And it's been an awesome relationship for us. They've, and when I was in New England and I was in Philadelphia before that, I saw both sides of it. When I was in Philly, we didn't have this deal yet. And then when I was in New England, we had the deal. So I've seen it work from both sides. And reporters put a lot of time, effort, marketing dollars behind us. And it's helped us grow also with partnerships that aren't your typical lacrosse partnerships. During our playoffs last year, Michelob Ultra was the presenting sponsor of the playoffs, which is probably something if we're, you know, just doing it on our own, it's harder to get than when now you're with Bleacher Report. Now we're with Geico. Those are some of the people that are starting to get exposed to our sport. And the best thing about that is yes, Bleacher Report gets us out there to more people. It's been a great relationship, but now these partners are really invested in our sport, and now they're starting to promote us too. So I call it it's like the retweet effect. Hopefully you get a partner that works well with you. They retweet it, they retweet it, they retweet it. Now you're growing a bigger business. For us, being a new team here, and this was done before I got here, and I take my hat off to the owners, Gary Furman and Eric Baker, for coming up with this. They purchased the local rights back from Bleacher Report, so we're getting national exposure. We're getting one free game also in front of the paywall on Bleacher Report. We have a relationship with Twitter and Facebook and things like that. We buy back our rights for local, and we go to MSG, and now we put them on MSG. Now our logo is showing up next to the Knicks and the Rangers, and we're on the MSG Network platform. And they put together a Riptide and 30 after our first win and replayed that. We have advertising on the MSG Network. Those are the things that I think are going to expose us. I mean, this marketplace is rich in lacrosse. How do I expose us to the other sports entities and not the lacrosse people? I think we do a pretty good job getting to lacrosse people. Now it's getting to the families, 25 to 54, with kids 8 to 18, that are entertainment people and other sports entities. So those are some of the things that we're really looking at. And then at a league level, that Bleacher Report Live, again, owned by Turner, is a next step for us to take this sport to the next level.
So it's also interesting, you have MSG, you have, the Bleacher Report, but obviously those aren't the big television contracts that a lot of the major sports have. And even those major sports are really suffering without live attendance and tickets being bought at the stadiums. Going forward, we don't know what it's going to look like, but I have to imagine even next season, there's going to be a reduction in the amount of tickets that can be sold to maintain some sort of social distancing. Can the NLL survive with, let's say, they go to a third of the seats being able to be sold? Can the NLL survive with that few seats being able to be sold?
I think we can. I definitely think we can. And to give you some scenarios, that's one of the things I've been working on very diligent, because we don't know what it's going to be like. But the thing with the National Lacrosse League, and we just said this the other day, is we have the luxury. Our season doesn't begin until December. So we kind of have this 7-8 months leading up to that to see what other sports are doing, to see what works, what doesn't work, and what I say the in-arena capacity would look like. I've already started doing scenarios at 75%, at 50%, at 25%. So when we're ready to move forward, we'll have that scenario done. Now, if it's at 75%, your marketing looks different. At 50%, marketing looks different. 25%, well, now your marketing looks really, really different, and we have to get outside the box. So when I tell you no idea is off the table, we've been throwing everything out there. I also think it's good to keep our team exposed. We are entering into an agreement with Madison Square Garden Networks again. So we will have our games on broadcast TV through MSG, which would help our partners also. But when I tell you no ideas off the table, we've thrown around ideas to say, okay, if we can put 2,000 fans in the building, then let's put 2,000 fans in the parking lot and do a drive-in movie theater where they're watching the game, but we have people out there shooting T-shirts to cars, and the cheerleaders are dancing, and players are walking around and knocking on the car saying hi to everybody. Those are some of the ideas that we're looking at to keep that fan engagement. I'm talking about putting players in, you see the happy birthdays where people are driving past people's houses for parades. We're talking about doing that with players to get people going, almost like a virtual traveling pep rally in a way to keep people going. So those are things we're going to have to get creative with. The good thing is that I have 7 to 8 months to look and see what works in front of us, and then gives us a better direction to see how creative we get.
And that's the interesting thing. Listen, no one ever wanted something like this to make people think outside the box, but, sports seem to be the same. You would go to the arena, things very rarely were there major changes. Now, obviously, there has to be major changes. And for things like that, that's pretty cool because, you know what? Maybe you're going to get fans that probably, listen, I know your tickets were very reasonably priced, but let's take your scenario with baseball. Where they can't sell those tickets, but maybe they'll have areas where you can go and watch it on the big screen and be part of still the community. And that's what you want. That's what sports are. They're the communities for all of us to go and, fandom doesn't know politics. So, you're there just, cheering on your team and you have that sense of community. So maybe this will inspire people that weren't able to go to the games to be able to go to parking lots and see things like that on a big screen. I'm sure it's a very interesting as well as trying time for you. We look forward to the chance for us, AJ, when he gets back here as well, to go out to a Riptides game. We weren't able to get out there this year, but we're hoping that we definitely can this coming year because we definitely want to go someplace to watch sports. So I really appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to some of the innovations that you guys are going to bring to Long Island with the Riptide.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you. I look at this and it's a devastating thing, right? It's a pandemic. It's devastating for everybody. I'm a father. I'm a family. I have 3 kids. I get it. It's devastating. My oldest son played 3 years of junior hockey, finished up his hockey career, didn't get a chance to finish it, and then he has no graduation. So I get all of that stuff that goes around. In my business, I'm in the live event / sports business. It's going to be a new norm. And I'm looking at it as a challenge, and I'm looking at it as an opportunity for people in my business to create the new norm. We're going to be people in the front now creating that new norm, whatever that looks like. We're going to be involved in it and help create that, because there's going to be a generation of kids that come up that wouldn't even know if we did something before now what we do. So I'm trying to look at the silver lining on that. But I know it's hard when we're in this whole thing, but I'm actually looking forward to the challenge and things. So I appreciate it. And I'd love to have you guys come out and see some of the things we're doing. And if we do the drive-in, we'll throw T-shirts into your car while you're watching the game. Absolutely.
All right, Rich. Thanks so much. We really appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Good luck and stay safe.
You got it. You too. GF Sports Executive Vice President Rich Lisk. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll talk NFL football with Jay Retcher, so keep it tuned right here.
The Phoenix Tube Company Incorporated is among the country's leading manufacturers of structural ornamental stainless steel tubing, rectangles, squares, and processed flat bars. The company takes pride in its everyday commitment to quality and customer service. The philosophy of the company has been and continues to be to support the growth of the stainless tube market through distribution and service centers throughout the country. Ornamental and structural stainless steel tubing is used for a wide variety of aesthetic and mechanical products where superior finish and corrosion resistance are required. Some products manufactured include tubing for mirror bracket arms, boat rails and ladders, washroom grab bars, swimming pool rail products, medical equipment, automotive step bars and trimming, as well as structural framing for food processing equipment. For a quote or for more information on how the Phoenix Tube Company can meet your ornamental and structural stainless steel tubing needs, visit them on the web at phoenixtube.com or call them toll-free at 1-800-526-2124.
And welcome back to 540 AM Sports Talk New York, 540 AM in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, as well as streaming live on the Facebook Live app. It's time now for the NFL Report with Jay Retcher. It's sponsored by Just Escape Long Island. Just file this away. They're not open right now, but when they do open, we want to know if you and your team have what it takes to race against the clock using your wits and instincts to complete a mission and escape the room. Test your problem-solving skills at Just Escape in Massapequa. Have an experience like no other with 5 fun and challenging rooms, all varying in difficulty and scare factor. Just Escape is the perfect, unique day out for all ages. Great for corporate and fundraising events, birthday parties too. Are you up for the challenge? Do you have the cooperation, creativity, and focus to escape? Book now at justscapeli.com. That's justscapeli.com. And basically, if you were at a party and you want to escape from guys trying to commit armed robbery, you might be talking about 2 NFL cornerbacks. See what I did there, Jay?
I see. King of the segue, they call you, Mark. King of the segue.
So tell us what you know about DeAndre Baker and Quentin Dunbar. They turned themselves into the Broward Sheriff's Office in Florida on Saturday. Tell us what you know about this case.
So, it seems like there's more and more information coming out as the days go by, but it looks like they were having a dice game around 15, 20 people in Miramar in South Florida. And it looks like sounds like things got a little bit out of hand. And it seems like Baker pointed a gun at somebody, told somebody, hey, you should shoot this guy. And then it's kind of fishy in the last 36 hours or so. People are kind of retracting those statements. So it's kind of like he said, she said, but those accusations don't just appear out of nowhere. So in this case, to me, unfortunately, for Giants fans out there, where there's smoke, there's fire. And this is not going to be the last time you've heard of this. I know the Giants have already reached out to Baker and told him, hey, you take care of what you got to take care of. Don't worry about any of the online workouts or anything like that. And, hey, I tell you what, that signing of James Bradbury looms that much larger as we inch closer to training camp, possibly. We still don't know necessarily. But, with soccer's done coming back, and it looks like hockey and baseball are talking about possibly coming back here soon, hey, it's something that the Giants really have to worry about.
All right, so let's talk about, guys getting on the field. There, you sent me a text about Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. What can you tell our audience about Tom Brady right now?
Well, it's kind of interesting. I know there's a lot of teams out there wondering, okay, how are we going to make this all happen? How are we going to get either quarterbacks on a new team or young quarterbacks just joining the NFL? How are they going to work out with some of these guys? Well, luckily enough for me, I got some information that Tom Brady's been working out with some of the Buccaneer receivers. Mike Evans still in Texas, so he's working out with guys like Chris Godwin and Scotty Miller and tight end O.J. Howard at a local high school in the Tampa Bay area, 2 days a week, real early in the morning. People have been banging down my door, which high school, what time? But, if I did that, then they wouldn't be working out anymore. So Tom Brady is working out with some of his new receivers down here in Tampa. So at least that's one team that with the new quarterback that has gotten some repetitions in before real organized team workouts.
So let's go a step further, and we've talked about this with all our beat guys, and we spoke to this with the other people tonight. We know in the NFL, when it comes playoff time, a lot of these guys, when they're practicing before the games, when they're going on the road, they pipe in the music, they pipe in the crowd noise. We don't know if there's going to be fans allowed into the stadiums yet. Or if they are, it might be a third of the capacity. Will the NFL or the home teams pipe in crowd noises to give the illusion, when you're watching at home, that we're watching the normal Sunday football? Or is it going to be played in complete silence? What's your opinion on that?
It's funny you ask that, because from what I've talked to, and outside of football too, baseball and hockey, things like that are going to kind of affect everything and kind of simulate some of the things that you're not going to have because of the weird times we're living in right now. That's all going to come from the top. So whether it's an NFL thing where, hey, it's going to be due to the TV and we're going to pipe some noise into the crowds at home, or there's going to be because you can't just have any team just go, hey, you can play your music as loud as you want with the other teams on offense. That's not necessarily fair, because if the team can't hear their count, you can't really simulate, all right, is this as loud as this is going to be as far as decibel level-wise? So I do think there's going to be something coming from top. The NFL, the MLB, whatever, they're going to say, hey, this is what you guys are going to do. I don't think they're going to pipe in too much noise, maybe after scores, but I wouldn't think that it'd be during the kind of the course of play. But hey, I mean, that's one of those things we're just going to have to, worry about that, cross that bridge when we get there.
All right, we got about a minute left. I just want to tell you something, Jay. You got me hooked on to MLB The Show and NHL 20, but I don't know. I'm going to hook you up with something. I don't know if you know how you can go out and add rosters to MLB The Show, but there's this guy called, I think it's Riding Rosters, all right? He's got these, all-star teams, and he's got them down pat. You got Pete Rose on the Reds. You got, the Big Red Machine. You got the Red Sox of the 70s. Very cool. And so go out there. It's under community. Go out to the vault and search, and you'll find it. It's pretty cool. I played the 69 Mets versus the 69 Orioles today, and, Tommy Agee and Art Shamsky, it's wild. So you're going to thank me for that.
And you know what? You got to do it in NHL 20. There's alumni. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Great. That's Gretzky playing together. Sign me up.
You got it. All right, Jay, we'll speak to you next week. Jay Retcher with the Just Escape NFL Report. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Sports Talk New York. We'll see everyone next week, either on the radio or on Facebook Live. Have a good one, everyone. Stay safe and healthy.
Colleges are utilizing distance learning.